Okay, hello, welcome. Okay, so today I will show you how to do research framework. So what is research framework? It's basically how to determine whether your research is enough or not. Okay, basically the overall view. Okay, so this is quite important. It's very helpful because if you do this, you know what is important, what is not. Sometimes you have problem, have a lot of pages, okay, but you're not sure whether to reduce it or not. Okay, so this is basically how you control your writing. Okay, so I recommend you do this because this is very helpful. Okay, and you can see whether your research is enough or not. Okay, so what to do first? Okay, I recommend you find a review paper first. To do this, you need to have some sort of what I call the overview of a topic. So for me, I give you example. Okay, you can adjust it based on your research lah. Okay, this is just example. I give you research on PV emulator. Okay, so for PV emulator, you can see here. There are Actually, there are five. So you have PV model system, control strategy, and power converter. And then in the PV system, you have two more. Okay, PV type and implementation method. So for this one, power converter, actually they have. I don't. I'm not sure whether they have it or not. Okay, so basically there is another controller and the type of converter. So for the PV emulator system, basically there are five things that you have to do to make a whole new PV emulator system. So that is you have to know. Okay. So basically you have to know what is needed in a research. Okay. For PV emulator, you have five things that you have to consider. Okay. So you know there are five things now. Okay. You have to find the review paper. Usually they have this some sort of what you call a branch of part of the thing that you have to know. Okay, so then you have to decide which part you want to improve. Okay, which one, because when you do PhD or research, usually we need to have contribution. So what part you want to do contribution? Usually when you want to do a contribution, you have to do it in a system. You cannot do, for example, I give you example. You want to do, for example, PV emulator control strategy. You cannot have multiple control strategy in a system. Okay, so basically when you want to do the research for PhD or master research, okay, basically you have to choose one contribution for each of these part. Okay, you cannot do multiple contribution in one part. Okay, it is a system, so that is important. So I repeat back, make sure don't do multiple. For example, for PV model system, right? Like I said, there are two, right? So you suggest a two new method. Okay, cannot, because this one is needed in a system. Okay, only one is needed in a system. So if you have two, basically it's not suitable lah. You have to combine every contribution into one for your PhD or master research. So I hope it is clear for that. Okay, now you open I suggest you open a Excel lah, because it is quite useful easy to make you can also can use table, but it is difficult to adjust. Okay, so the first thing that you have to start when you do the research framework is basically what you want to do for contribution. Like I said before, when you come to research, okay, you're doing PhD or master coursework, master research, okay, so you need to have contribution. So okay, write your contribution. Okay, so depend on the university. For UTM, okay, usually we only need one contribution, but one contribution is quite dangerous. Okay, I repeat, one contribution is quite dangerous. Okay, two is better but still not very good lah. So I recommend three contribution. Okay, if not, you will have a lot of trouble lah for this. Okay, so in the beginning, okay, because you don't know new contribution, right? Okay, so you can just write new control. You want to find a new control strategy, right? Okay, okay, so you want to do some new control strategy. Okay, so let me insert here. Maybe just put number. Okay, so this is number 1, okay, number 2 and number 3. So I just suggest you to put the number lah, easy for you to refer back. So what else you want to improve? Okay, so you have new control strategy, maybe new PV model. Okay, okay, maybe this is the second one, your second contribution. Maybe you want a new closed loop controller. So basically, you will not clash with any other thing. Okay, so that is important. Basically, you have to do a system, not multiple things in a system. Okay, so you want new control strategy, new PV model, new closed loop controller. So you can see here. So there is another thing. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So how you write? Okay, so maybe this is goes to center, and then after contribution, you write problem statement. Oh, I suggest you write not problem statement, objective. Okay, so it's a bit it's like reverse engineering, something like this. Okay, objectives, you have scope, and then you have problem. Okay, so something like this. Okay, so from this, okay, it's okay, you can just write like this, and then you have literature review. Okay, and then you have methodology, and then result and discussion. Okay, so and then conclusion, I think no need. So something like this. Okay, and maybe like this, and then this one already close. I close a bit. Okay, and make this larger. Okay, so in the beginning, you still don't know what you want to do. Okay, so maybe we do like this. So your contribution is you focus on new control strategy, new PV model, and new closed loop controller. Okay, so that is the in the beginning. Okay, so the objective is you write to design a new control strategy for PV emulator. So for PV emulator, I just write PVE. So just write like this, or you can just to propose. Okay, to propose a new control strategy. Okay, for PVE. So it's okay. This is just for your not the official writing. This is just for you. No need to write a proper grammar lah. This one to propose. Okay, let me check. Okay. Okay, so to propose a new PV model for the PVE. Okay, and then this one maybe I just copy because it use was a new control strategy. New control strategy. This one, Okay, so new closed loop controller. Okay, so I suggest make it as where is it? Tag wrap, and then usually we refer to the top lah. Okay, something like this. Okay, so for this one, for the scope, okay, objective I hope is clear. So based on the literature review paper, you know what is the important part in a research, and then you target which one you want to improve. You can choose anything. Okay, so this one maybe you have to discuss with your supervisor lah, which part you want to improve. So basically based on the what things that needed in the research, you have to choose. Okay, so for UTM I recommend 3 lah. For safety 3. Okay, 1 is dangerous, 2 is still okay, 3 is safe. Okay, so you have 3 contribution. Okay, so for scope I recommend, okay, you have to do 3 things. Okay, so you have verification, okay, and then you have yeah, you have to press alternate enter to go to the next rank. Okay, alternate enter. Okay, verification, okay, benchmark, and then what else? Another thing is what you call okay, quantification. Okay, so these are the things that you have to include in the scope. Okay, okay, I hope it's clear. And before I forget, usually we need to have general. Okay, so this one make it larger, 0. I just call it 0. This is not contribution. Basically you need to have this in a research. Okay, so this is basically nothing lah, basically needed in the research, but it's not in your contribution. Usually we put here because it's needed, and the content usually much more smaller. Okay, so I hope it's clear now. Okay, so you have problem, so from this you have to read lah. Okay, when you do research, you know, okay, what is the problem with the current system, and then you have to do literature review, methodology, and result and discussion. So when you read, okay, you have to do literature review. This one you have to research on, okay, because you want to know new control strategy, so you have to have a topic in the literature review about control strategy. Okay, so you need to have a topic about control strategy. So because this is important, I recommend this needs to be around maybe 5 pages. Okay, in the literature review, usually for PhD and master research, you need to have at least 40. Okay, but for the important part, I suggest around 5 pages. Okay, something like this. If it is important, I think 5 also not enough. You have to adjust it a bit. Okay, so maybe this one 8 probably. Okay, so depend in the proposal defend, this one should be smaller lah. Okay, so depend on priority. Okay, so wait, something wrong. Okay, so this one is actually is a bit tricky, so I recommend just put something like percentage. Okay, so for the total, so this one is quite important. I recommend you to put something like, okay, wait, something wrong with my PC. Wait, keeps blinking. Okay, so I think it's already okay. So I recommend you put something like this: 8 out of, I think 5. 5 should be enough. 5 out of 40. This is high priority. Means that you want to put control strategy 5 out of 40. Okay, so that is the important thing when you do literature review, because you are doing control strategy. Okay, so new PV model. So you want to propose a new PV model, of course, you have to discuss more about the PV model. So this is number of pages. This is recommend number of pages. This is important because you want to know whether you put enough or put less inside the inside your writing. So this one PV model. Okay. So 5 out of 40 also because this is important. Okay. So what else? So this one. So close to controller. Okay. So this is important. Also 5 out of 40. 40. Okay. So basically anything that is important, I recommend you put 5 or above lah. Okay. So you have to do something like this. Okay. So you have this, and then what else? If you look back the paper, actually you need to know the implementation method, okay, as well as okay, PV implementation method. You can see here PV model is here, PV implementation. So because of this, I think for the new PV model, okay. So this one you also need to put PV model implementation. Okay, because this part is not too critical. Okay, because this is not your you don't have any contribution for the PV model implementation method. So I recommend maybe 3 out of 40 pages. Okay, so that is how you adjust how many content you needed, okay, in your research. Okay, so maybe 30 out of 40. So what is another thing that you need to do? Okay, so the content, what else? Okay, you also need to know for PV emulator, for example this one, you also need to have a power converter itself lah. You have to discuss about the power converter. Okay, so power converter. Okay, so 3 out of 40. Okay, next, when it comes to literature review, you have to do summary, but summary is usually a little. Okay, so you can see here, you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 component inside your research, because in this research, there are only 5 components that you need to consider. Okay, so you can see here 3, 6, 15. 3, 6, 5, 5, 5 become 21. So it is not enough. Your target is 40. For example, if you are focusing on Viva, it is 40. But if you are focusing on proposal defense usually 50 to 100. Okay, let's say usually around 25 lah. Okay, for this one, I suggest this is for final. But for proposal defense, I think 25 is enough. Okay, so 25 change for proposal defense 25. For the Viva usually 40 pages. This one depend lah on the supervisor will determine this. Okay, so for maybe I focus on proposal defense first. Okay, so 25. Okay, so 3 like I said we have 21, right? So 21 out of 25. So based on this, you can see that you know what is the content you need to have a lot. Okay, so you can see. Okay, so complete that. Okay, next you have to write the problem. So when you write a problem, okay, because we go to the problem, you have to write the scope, I think. Wait. Okay, so you have to write a problem first. So for example, for control strategy, because you are doing control strategy, right? So for problem, usually you need to have common. Okay, I recommend common. Okay, new. Okay, and common, new, and close. This is the recommendation. Okay, not close, similar. Okay, so this one you need to highlight for all. Okay, so for control strategy, if you read it, okay, actually most of people use DRM. It's called the DRM control strategy. So DRM. Okay, so what is the new method? Okay, resistant RFM. Okay, so this is the resistant feedback method. Okay, the DRM is the common one. Most people use this. Okay, no, resistant comparison. Okay, comparison method. What is similar? Resistant feedback method. Okay, something like that. Why you have to do this? Because usually in research we need to know what is the common method that you people do, and then you write this new method, and also the one that is you want to adjust based on your research lah. Okay, so for all of this you can see here you have three is the minimum. So based on this, you have to write the benchmark lah. So for your benchmark, you have to compare this method with DRM, okay, RCM, and then RFM. Okay, so that is how you do the benchmark. So this one you have to write lah. Pros. Okay, so write it unstable. Okay, then con. Okay, what is the con? Pros is con is unstable. Simple only. Okay, this one. Okay, simple. Okay, okay, and then this one same pros. What is pros? Okay, many more. Pros is simple. Flexible. Okay, something like this. Okay, fast. Okay, and then pros. What is the RCM pros? Okay, independent of the controller of the converter. Okay, and then con. Okay, okay, right, something lah. Okay, so you need to have something. Okay, for all same as this, you have to write what is pros, what is con. Okay, so you can see here you have to write problem. Okay, so this three is the minimum lah, common, new, and similar. Okay, okay, so this one you already have, and then you transfer to benchmark. Okay, and then verification. So how you verify this new controller? Okay, so of course simulation and hardware implementation. Okay, so you can see that based on this you have to do simulation and then you have to do hardware for this contribution. Okay, and then qualification, quantification. So this is what is the parameter that you want to do. Okay, so this one usually you have to check the paper, look at the result, what test that they do to for this. Okay, so for this case, this are usually accuracy, accuracy, stability. So basically you have to check paper, what result that they show when they test a new control strategy. Okay, what type of test? So this one is depend on your research. So for this one, slowly transient response. Okay, this one you write it in the scope. Okay, this is just for your reference lah, but in the writing you have to write everything properly. Okay, okay, so I hope it's clear lah. This one hardware implementation, I suggest also detail using what for me I use this case. Okay, simulation and hardware implementation using displays, and you also have to do for propose and benchmark. Okay, something like this. Why you have to specify? Because this one is needed. When you do the hardware, you have to do the benchmark also, not only your control strategy. So based on this, you already know the pros and cons and everything. Okay, and then suddenly you come out with a new control strategy. Maybe you get a name. Okay, so you change it instead of new. Okay, you change it to the name. So for me, it's called resistant uh, direct calculation. Oh no, this one RCM. This one is, I forget for me. Oh yeah, IDM. Okay, so basically I propose a new types of control strategy in my previous research. It's called RFM. Okay, so you already have name for it, so propose RFM. So instead of a new, just call it RFM, control strategy for PVE. Okay, so now it is, you can see here the content. How about methodology? So when it comes to methodology, you can see here. Okay, for okay, wait, it's hang again. Sorry, wait, Okay, so when it comes to methodology, what you want to write in the methodology? Of course, control strategy. Okay, so for control strategy, okay, you have to write about the benchmark. So for this one, the benchmark is DRM, okay, RCM, okay, maybe control strategy, DRM, IDM, RCM, and then when you write this for DRM, the benchmark, no need to worry, just write it. But for your propose method, you don't forget, when you write it, you write propose RFM, something like this. Okay, so this is make sure you're clear on how to show your propose method. Okay, so because control strategy is what you call is considered as what you call contribution, so make sure it is 5 out of 25. So a lot lah. Okay. Okay, next. What else? Okay, result and discussion. You have to load quantification. Okay. So how you test this one? Okay. So control strategy. For example, for this one, what you call accuracy. Okay, accuracy test. Okay, and so on. So proto strategy are okay. Accuracy test. You can see here stability test. Okay, and transient response test, something like this. So basically, that is how, what is the chapter lah. For example, this one you want to make it as 4.1. Okay, so if this one you make it 4.1, okay, so this one is 4.1.1, okay, and then this one 4.2 4.1.2, okay, and then 4.1.3. Okay, so that is how you write the, how do you determine what should be in your research. Okay, so same as here, 5 out of 25. Okay, so depend lah on your page target. For 25 I suggest 5 lah, but if the page is 40 I suggest recommend maybe 8. Okay, this one depend on your supervisor. Okay, so you can see here clearly how to determine. Okay, so this one the same process here. So I write the common one is one IV PV model. Okay, this is the common one. There is no new model. Okay, there is no similar model for this case. Okay, this is just a recommendation, but for this case, nothing. Okay, usually people just focus on IV PV model. That's it. Okay, it's not compulsory to have all. Depend on the research lah. But usually, if the research you done the research, there is a lot of methods, so you can do something like this. But for this case, only one model available. Okay, so for the problem, okay, common this one. So what is the problem? Not suitable for PV emulator. Okay, not suitable for PV emulator. Okay, so how you propose a new model? Okay, so change, like I said before, for my case, I call it IR PV model instead of IV PV model. Okay, so and then change this to IR PV model. So it's clear how the process works. So you have contribution and then you update the objective, okay, to propose, okay, IRPV model. So you have the second objective and then you need to determine what is the, how you verify it. So for this one, when it comes to PV model, you have to verify, compare C with actual PV model. So every time you do this, you have to do some verification. So for this one, compare accuracy with actual PV model data point. Because this is important. If you don't do verification, basically you cannot do anything. So for this case, it's only one because you see here it's only common. So compare with IV PV model. Okay. Oh yeah, this one have two types. Okay, so common is this one, and another one is LUT, lookup table. Okay, so LUT also require a large memory. Okay, so for this one benchmark, you have to compare the IV PV model and also LUT. Okay, quantification. So for this case, only accuracy lah. Okay, if you do comparison for the PV model, is only accuracy. So based on this, okay, and then you do the PV model. Okay, so for PV model, okay, so PV model also 5 out of this one. Okay, inside there you need to have, you can see here the benchmark. Usually we put the benchmark first and then your proposed method. So IV PV model, and then the second benchmark is LUT. Okay, and then lastly, okay, your proposed IRPV model. Okay, so I hope it's clear. This is the content. Okay, and then 4.1 for this one is 4.2 lah. Okay, or you can name it later for this one. This is just a suggestion. Maybe you have to change. Okay, okay. So this one I will show later. So this one later also. This one later. Okay. So numbering no need to worry yet. Okay. So for result, okay. So this one is the PV model. Since this one is only one, this is PV model accuracy. Okay. So next, closed loop. Okay. Do the same thing. For my case, I recommend a resistant fuzzy. Okay, resistant fuzzy logic controller. So for this one, of course, change this. Propose this one. Same here, verification. Of course, you have to compare hardware. Okay, for any controller, you have to compare hardware. So this one, you have to ask your supervisor lah, what is the way to verify your contribution. So benchmark, of course, you have to compare with the common. This one, you have to do this one first, right? Common is the PI. Okay, PI controller. The new one is not fuzzy. Fuzzy is similar. Okay, but fuzzy, this one is the V fuzzy. Okay, or I fuzzy. Okay, this is the common one. Okay, so new, there is a lot of new, but for a lot of controller for this, but for the PV emulator, for the PVE, nothing's new. They usually use PI controller, so no need lah for this case. Okay, and then the benchmark. What is the benchmark for this? You have to do PI, and then for my case is only IPV. Usually we use I controller. If not second, yeah. Okay, so IPV. So you have to have benchmark with the I fuzzy. Okay, quantification is accuracy and transient response. Okay, something like this. So closed loop, of course, 5 pages. Okay, and then this one, you have to do closed loop controller. You need to have what? The benchmark first, PI, and then I is current, I fuzzy, and then propose R fuzzy. Okay, so this one is R fuzzy lah. R, make it shorter. Okay, in reality, you cannot short it. This is just for your reference, easy to check. So you can see here the result. What is it? So you check back quantification, how you quantify it. So this one is okay. This one is 5 pages, and then this one is closed loop. Same, 5 out of 25. Okay. Then you have PI and not PI. This one is the test itself, the quantification. Accuracy. Okay, accuracy, transient. Okay, and response. Okay. Okay, so this is the one that you build lah, basically. Okay. So make sure you put it in the proper word inside your writing, but this one you can see how to do it. In this case, okay, so be careful when you do this. Basically, it needs to have some sort of flow. Okay, for this one, actually the flow for the PVE, the flow usually start with this PV model and then goes to the controller and then goes to this. So make sure when you, after you complete, you check back, you see that you have to do this first. Okay, so PV model first. So 1 and then 2 and then 3. So this one depend on the logic lah. Okay, so basically small system, you start with small system first. So like this is a part of the system, small system, and then this the overall system. Okay, so that is how you arrange it. And then after you rearrange this, and then you can start numbering. Okay, so you can see here you have this result, right? Okay, PV model accuracy, this one is only 15 out of 25, but this one have a lot, right? Maybe you change it to 15, 10 probably. Okay, so this one have 2, maybe you change it to 8. So 5 plus 8 plus 10 should be 23. So almost enough lah. This is just the recommendation. Okay. But if you do Viva, needs to be higher lah. This one. Okay. Okay, methodology. So this one 5 plus this one is recommend is 5 out of 25, right? Okay. So this one 5, 5, 5. So for this case, okay. So for methodology, when you do this research, of course you need to use something. Okay, you need to include what? For this case, okay, power converter. Okay, so this one only 3 out of 5, 25 pages. Okay, so you need to have power converter here. Okay, so for this case is 5, 5, 5. Okay, and 18. So it's not enough. So you need to increase it. So you look at it. This one only have 2. This one only have 3. Okay, this one have 3. This one have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So this one I recommend increase to maybe 13. This one maybe 7. Okay, this is depend on you. This is only 5. 5, 7. This one is 12 probably. So if you look here, 3, 8, 15, 22. Yeah, this is how you arrange it. Okay, so I hope it is clear how you do this. Okay, same here, make sure it's balanced. Okay, so you can see here 3, 6, 11. This one is 11, 5. Okay, 11, 16 and 20. So you need to increase lah. So PV model doesn't have too much PV model. Controls look also not many. Control strategy have a lot. Maybe you can increase it to 9. Okay, this one PV model maybe a lot a bit. This means 6. Okay, so this one have a lot also. You can see here in the paper there are a lot of method, but since this is not your contribution, you don't have any contribution here, you just write it simple. Okay, PV converter also a lot. If you look at this, there is a lot of power converter. Okay, so because this is just a simple one, cannot be a lot. So this is important because you want to control what is the focus of your research. This is important, you have to mention it, but because you are not contributing to this knowledge, you just write it simple. Okay, so that is how you control the pages. Okay, so now you already see how to write it. Next, you have to arrange. Okay, so how to arrange? So this one, for arrangement, you have to this only. Okay, so arrangement for result in discussion, usually we follow the contribution arrangement like this. So this one is 4.1. Okay, and then this one is 4.2. Okay, and then this one is 4.2.1, and then this one is 4.2.2. Okay, so this one according to the number of the objective. So for the result in discussion, I suggest to follow this one. Okay, next, this one same here, 4.3. Okay, and then this one is 4.3.1, 4.3.2, 4.3.3. So this is the recommendation. Follow your objective number. So for the methodology, you cannot follow the objective number lah. Okay. So for the methodology, usually sometimes it's relate one another. You have to number it properly. Okay. So this one, same here. Literature review and methodology usually relate to each other. Okay. So you need to have a story lah. I suggest you follow the story tell inside the review paper. Okay. So for review paper, usually we discuss about the PV model first. Okay. So for this case, 4.1, not 4.1, this one 2.1. Okay. And then this one is the implementation 2.1 2.2 probably. Okay. And then you have power converter 2.3. Okay. And then 2.4, and then this one 2.5. Okay, so that is how you number the literature review. Next, methodology. So you go for result because it's easy, right? You follow the objective number. For literature review, you have to adjust accordingly because control strategy require PV mode, all of this. So you have to discuss all of this first. Okay. So this one basically you can look at paper, review paper, how they arrange it because they already think how to tell the story. Okay. So for methodology, I suggest to use same as literature review. So for this one, of course, PV model is 2.1. Not 2, 3.1. Okay. So be careful. Sometimes 0.1 is for introduction. So maybe you can just adjust it lah. This one 3, this one 4. Okay, this one 5, and then 6. Okay, and also don't forget 3.7, 2.7 literature summary. Okay, you need to have literature summary. So 2.7 is literature summary. Okay, so basically you have to summarize pros and cons for each of your contribution and then write it. This one usually only 2 pages, 2 out of 25. Okay, so I hope it's clear how to manage the pages. This is important. Looks not important, but it's quite important, especially it's paper. If you want to write paper, but usually paper we focus on one lah. But you can use the same concept on how to control the content. Okay, so clear. Now we move on to this one. Of course, you need to have introduction. Like I said before, 2.1 introduction. Basically, the overall view what is the component lah inside here. Okay, so already clear. Introduction usually you need only 1 to 2 page lah. 2 out of 25. Okay. So now you can see clearly how to create a structure for your research. Okay, and then what else? Okay. So now numbering. So 3.2. Okay. I said before you need to have introduction. Okay. For result and discussion, you can also have it, but not too compulsory lah. So this one is 3.1 introduction, and then for power converter is what? So you look here 3.2, and then this one is 3.3. Okay, so PV model, this one, and then 3.3. Okay, PV model implementation. You show in the literature review only a little, but you use it, but only one type lah. You use if you don't have any contribution, no need to discuss many lah. So for this case, no need. Okay, because all of these are how to explain. It's very difficult. Okay, it's okay. Just like this, and then this one you have to put 3.2.1. Okay, 3.2.2, and then 3.2.3. Okay, something like this. Okay, so make sure you write propose. If you're the thing that you propose, you write propose. If you don't propose the method, don't write propose. Okay, this is important. Propose is reserved for your contribution. Okay, so I highlight this. Okay, propose. Okay, and then this one is 3.4, right? Okay, 3.4, and then 3.4.1, 3.4.2, and 3.4.3. Okay, so you can see it's clear lah now. Okay, so you show properly what is how you verify it, how you benchmark it, how you quantify the result. So that is how you have to do this. Okay, so this one is 4.3. Okay, this one is 3.5. Okay, something like this. So 3.5.1. Okay, I hope you get the idea. This one 3.5.2. Okay, this one 3.5.3, and then 3.5.4. Okay, so I highlight this one. Okay, so in research, actually this one is important. The propose. They will look at your methodology on propose. Okay, if it's not clear, you have problem lah. Okay, so now you can see all of your research. So basically, if something missing, this one missing, you can see clearly. If your research have something not enough, this ones usually will be lost. Some of the component will be gone. Okay, so this is how you do research framework. Okay, it's hang again. Okay, so I hope it's clear how to do it. So basically you can detect if something not enough. Okay, so that's it from me. I hope it will be helpful for you.